Okay, so I was not there on Monday to share what we're doing this year for service, so I want to give you a quick overview of what you're doing as a tutor in MYP3, MYP4, and MYP5. So really quickly, if you look in our mission and philosophy, there's all kinds of links to service and taking action. So if you ever get a chance to go through this with students, this is really good to kind of ask them where they see service, because there's really a lot of good connections. So basically, a couple things you need to know. What does service learning at ISB mean? Basically, our aim is to use our curriculum and the skills that we teach in our classes to help the students to address real-world issues. And students are often asking, well, if I mow my neighbor's lawn, does that count? Or walk my neighbor's dog? Or basically, the big thing is service needs to make a meaningful impact in the lives of others. So for us, that really means that they need to do some investigating, planning, taking action, and reflection. So those one-off little activities really don't meet those standards. So that would be how I would talk to kids who are asking those questions. And also another key is the student should never receive a financial benefit or extra credit for doing service. So those are some key things you might want to discuss with kids if they're asking questions. Basically, what I want to share with you now is what are some of the changes that we've made and why have we made them. So at the beginning of 2015, I sent a survey to all tutors and asked them what they would like to improve in our program. And people came back with, we need a more school-wide approach because kids were doing all their own service activities and there was a wide variety in what people were doing and the quality. We need to hold them more accountable, and we need to spend a little bit less time on the reflection and more time on the actual project to make it more meaningful. So a couple of these things I've addressed in making some changes. So I want to talk about that really quickly. The first one is, how do we have a more school-wide approach? So what we've done is we've carved out some SWL time to work on service. So there are 8 SWL doubles over the course of the year, and I'll show you a calendar in a little bit so you can kind of get an idea of when those are. And we're going to use that time to work on service in MYP3. That's the awareness campaign that Jill will talk about a bit more in detail. And then in MYP4 and 5, it's allowing students to choose some school projects that we are going to have one teacher supervisor with, and I'll talk about that a bit more. The second thing, we want to have students be more accountable, and so instead of having them do 1,000 different projects, each of our projects are now supervised, as I said, in M3, the awareness campaign by the personal tutor, and M4 and M5 by a personal tutor of MYP4 or 5 class, but not necessarily the personal tutor for that student. Another thing that people mentioned, we do too much focusing on reflections. And so basically, you're going to see, I'm going to show you a calendar in a little bit. Kind of gives you an idea of when students will be working on the project and how we're going to try to have them do more research, investigating, planning, taking action, so that those reflections are actually more meaningful. So here's a couple of the key changes for this year. The big thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to have the program evolve so that by MYP5, the students are really leading the projects and the teachers are more advisors. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, about how this is different if you're an MYP3 tutor to an MYP4 or 5 tutor. On this PowerPoint, I'll show you where you can find the link. There's more information for new teachers, but I'm going to pause this now and I'm going to go to show you the resources. So there's a link to the resources here in the email that I'm just about to send you. I would recommend you use Chrome as your browser to open it, or you can go into ManageBack and go to the year group that you're involved in, and files, and in the service and action folder there's the same links in case you lose this email. If you have trouble opening any of these things, please let me know. I can give it to you in another form. I just want to have it all in one place to make it as easy for you, and so that when there are changes, I don't have to send everyone new emails. So when you open this link, you're going to get something that looks like this. You're going to get a folder here. And so basically it's broken down, M3 resources, M4 and M5 resources. You have the PowerPoint that I'm just giving you. You have the calendar for when those service activities are taking place. And so really quickly, the M3 resources in here, you have lots of stuff in here along with Jill's letter that she gave you. So I'm going to let her discuss a bit more about that, and I'm going to move on to M4 and M5. So if you're an M3 tutor, the rest of this won't be relevant to you. Okay, so M4 and M5 tutors, the big thing that you need to know is that on the 31st of August, all the students are going to go to the aula, and they're going to pick the service project that they want to focus on. And so basically you are all going to have an idea of a project that you can connect to your subject matter. And so we kind of built those last year. If you want to look back at what was created last year, it's in this folder as well, each department's ideas. But basically, the big thing that you need to know is the kids are going to go around the room. I'm going to explain the process, and they're going to be rotating around the aula, and they're going to be hearing from you. So I'm going to just give you an example of what this would look like. So there's going to be people around the room. There will be one representative for the history department, okay? And that person will be explaining the project. So in this case, the history teachers want to have a campaign where kids connect to Amnesty International in Basel, see what they're doing, and get involved in letter writing campaigns to make people aware of human rights. So basically what would happen is the students would rotate around the aula in small groups, and they would hear maybe a 3-minute presentation from that teacher. So the teacher would just give a basic idea of what they might do if they chose that service option. And so basically by the end of that session, the kids will get a Google form, and they'll pick their top 3 choices for their project. And I will allocate them to the personal tutor that is running that project. And then the following SWL lesson, that person will begin planning with the students what they want to do for the project. And so basically they will be brainstorming how are they going to do that, and what they're going to do in all 8 of the SWL sessions. So essentially the big thing that you need to know is that you need to make sure that you have an idea of the project that you want to run. You need to put it in here so I can have an idea of what to put on the Google form. And you need to think of about a 3-minute discussion about what you would share with students on the 31st. So I've tried to go really quickly through all of that, and I'm sure some people will want more information. These folders are really good for the start, giving you the idea of the time frame and the expectations, but please let me know if you need more information or more support so that on August 31st we can hit the ground running and the kids can have a good idea of what the different projects are, and so that we can get started. Thanks a lot.